While fewer storms are predicted this year, the forecast is still for an above-average hurricane season, and St. Kitts and Nevis residents must prepare for possible impact in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking on a program called Road to National Resilience, National Disaster Coordinator for NEMA, Mr. Abdiel Samuel, is concerned about how people can shelter safely, either with friends or family, or alternatively by way of public hurricane shelters. Samuel outlines some of the challenges the hurricane season presents, as it only takes one hurricane hit to create a major crisis in a time of a pandemic.
We normally promote a body system approach to sheltering. It's very difficult doing that under this context. Second challenge you have, Mr. William, is that the government identifies shelters. Their capacity will have to be reduced significantly because of the pandemic. Now, the third thing we have to look at is placing different persons in these shelters, not knowing who may be a carrier of the virus that can transmit this virus. And it's an open space. You don't have an individual space. And that in itself is a recipe for challenge. Case in point, La Soufrière in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that would have erupted. Persons were placed in persons were placed in shelters. And these persons were placed in shelters. We have had clusters of cases come out of shelters. And this include security forces who have been there to help monitor and manage these shelters. So it poses a serious challenge in the context of that.
Meanwhile, Mr. Elmer Burke, the Senior Meteorological Officer at SCASPER, said less storms are predicted for this year compared to 2020, but he said the number of storms expected is still above the average.
We are expecting fewer storms. However, at the same time, we still anticipated a above-average hurricane season for this year. The forecast at the moment is calling for 17 storms, 8 of which may develop into hurricanes, and out of these 8, we are anticipating about 4 of them will develop into major hurricanes. And when we say major hurricanes, we're talking about categories 3, 4, and 5. So we recognize that, yes, it's lower than what we received last year in terms of number of storms. However, it is still above the climatological average.
While the Atlantic hurricane season begins in June, most of the major hurricanes and increased frequency occurs in September, as most storms form off the West African coast and travel across the Atlantic towards the Caribbean. Glenn Barth reporting for SKN Newsline.